Hey ladies, so today we are going to continue our study on people pleasing. We're going to just dig right in today. I'm not going to do a large intro or anything, just because there's not really a whole lot new and updated that's been going on, and I would really just like to get into the study. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the page, and let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to write on the top, people pleasing continued. So this week I have been struggling with people pleasing more than I have in a while. I had some events happen that just caused me to get so wrapped up in pleasing other people, giving them what they want versus thinking about myself and what I needed. And I think that's really tough, you know. It's really tough as women not to do that. But in the same token, I feel like I also am not giving God my best foot because I'm so focused on this. I'm so focused on, you know, the little things that happen. So there was, I don't know if this was a quote I found, or I have no idea. I had seen it in my notes when I was studying this a while back, and I wrote it down, and this time I wrote it down on a sticky note. And so I don't know if this is a quote. If it is, I'm sorry to whoever wrote it, because I don't have the name, but it is Okay, so the quote is, "Let pleasing God become bigger than pleasing people." And I think about God, and I think about the fact that He made me. You know, He created me. He loves me. He literally knit me in my mother's womb for His glory. You know, He has all these plans for me. Yet I'm so worried about pleasing, you know, my friends, my peers, people at the store, that I don't think about pleasing God. I think about pleasing these people, but I'm not out there thinking, oh, you know, I should go help that older woman because God would really appreciate that. No, you know, I think about the fact that someone might see me and it'll look good, you know, to be honest, it happens. And so I think that was a struggle for me, especially in the past, more of the outward appearance that I may have, that someone would like that. And I've grown to learn that that doesn't matter. But even still, I want to learn that pleasing God comes first. You know, that's ultimately what we're here for. I also think I'm the type of person that says, if they are happy, then I am happy. And I tend to gain happiness, or what I think is happiness, through other people. And if I'm being honest with myself, I never truly am happy if someone else is happy. I may be happy for that moment or for that day, but longevity wise, I'm not always happy. And God is the only thing on this entire planet that can possibly give us happiness. And so with that, I would like to look at Galatians 1:10. And the first part of the verse says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God?" Okay, so when I first looked at this verse, you know, so many little light bulbs were going off. I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is me, this is what I'm doing. And as I started digging into it, it just all made sense. You know, it all started making sense that this is what I'm doing. I'm people pleasing and I'm not God pleasing. So the first thing I want to look at is the word now. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the word now. Oops, I probably should have let that dry longer. Okay, well, lesson learned for you. Let that dry longer before you highlight it. So when I look at the word now, I think of, it's present time. It's today. It's this moment. And so today, in this moment, am I trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? What am I doing right now? And I think that's a huge point, because a lot of times we get hung up on the past and not the present. And the present can be trying to gain God's approval, or, giving him the glory. But I think oftentimes we worry about what happened yesterday, and I am like a huge, I worry about what happened yesterday versus today, and just realizing that this verse is talking about what you're doing right now, kind of put into perspective that I can change, and I can change the way I think and the way I feel and how I act, for God. So the next thing that I want to look at is the word try. And so I'm just going to box the word try, because to me, when someone says, I will try, that doesn't mean it's going to happen or that it's definite. Trying means it's possible. And to replace that word, if we want to look at something positive, I'll give you a perfect example. My husband will always say to me, I will work on this, and whatever that may be. And I have always been the type of person where I say, I will try to be better at. And when he says the word, I will, it gives me confidence. It gives me confidence that he is going to work on, whatever area that I feel like, he hurt my feelings in, or whatever. And when I'm using the word try, I'm not giving him that definite. I'm not giving him the, yes, I am going to work on that, or I will work on that. Instead, I'm saying like, I'll possibly give it some effort. And so here I think it's just a good reminder that doesn't mean, try does not mean this will be how you always are. So I'm just gonna write here, make So to try is just to make an attempt. So now I want to look at the word win. I'm going to go ahead and box that. And win is to get the possession of something or the attention in this aspect. So when we are talking about approval, we're talking about with humans, we're not just trying to get possession of them. We could really care less. I mean, in some ways we probably are, how many friends we have, how many people we've given random acts of kindness to, that kind of thing. But really what we're trying to get approval of is their attention. Are they looking at us and thinking, good job, you did great. And I think that's huge. I think that almost every woman looks for this, especially in a man. They look for the winning success with them, winning their approval, their love. And ultimately, God is that. But as human beings, we can't help but look for that attention. Okay, so the next word I want to look at is the word approval. I'm sorry, my little dogs in the background are making all kinds of noises. I don't know if you can hear them. They're like chewing on their toys and all that good stuff. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and box the word approval. And the word approval, I just think of acceptance. We look for acceptance in humans, we look for acceptance in God, and it's more difficult to find God's acceptance because we can't physically see him. He can't physically touch us. He can spiritually touch us, he can bless us, but sometimes that may not come for a while, when he feels like it's time that he shows that. And with humans, it's instant gratification. We've become an era of instant gratification. We can't help it. We like when people say, good job, you did great. But God is looking for the eternal outcome, heaven. And so right here, I'm just going to write acceptance. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is the word human beings. And human beings, the only reason why I wanted to look at this is because I want you to broaden your horizons. I want you to think about the people that you tend to seek approval in. And you can write direct names. You can write groups of people. I'm going to give you some examples, and then you can like I said, either write specific names or just write those groups of people. But it just helps to remind us that, it's just not a random person on the street typically that we're trying to impress. Okay, and the last thing I want to just highlight is the word God, because I think it is so important that we remember that we are here for God. We are seeking God's approval, not these human beings. So, yep. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the verse. And that next part says, or am I trying to please people? So the first word I want to look at is the word people. I'm going to go ahead and box that, and I'm going to connect it to this. Just so that way when I'm looking back in my notes, I remind myself people pleasing. These are the people. These are the people that I constantly am trying to find, that acceptance in. The next word I want to look at is the word please. And to me, please means the same thing as acceptance. You're looking for someone to say you did a good job, someone to praise you and say, yay, you did it. And so that's why I'm going to go ahead and just put an arrow there. I also want to just talk about some of the ways that we try to please. And I'm going to go ahead and just write a few things that I may do that I'm trying to please these humans, and that way I can start working on them and I can work towards, getting rid of those things. Okay, so these are some of the ways that I tend to please people. And I just want to work on making sure that I put God first. I'm always putting God first in all of my relationships and friendships, and, doing what He is, what is pleasing to Him versus what is pleasing to these people. So I'm going to take the same color that I boxed the word try, and I'm just going to box it here too. Just so if I go back at a later time, I can just remember that, it's about making an attempt. It's not saying that I will do this or that I always do this, but it's just saying that I try. So I just wanted to write just a little something that I had thought about while I was finishing up this portion of the verse. And I just thought to myself, we're making attempts to please God, but He needs to be first. And we are on this earth for His glory. Give Him the praise, give Him the opportunity to make us happy and to please us. And to find acceptance in him. So I'm just going to write a little something like that under here, just so I can jog my memory. If I'm going to go ahead and look back at this. If I'm struggling at a later time, a lot of times I'll go back to my notes and look at, that maybe that Bible study that I had completed, and it just helps to remind yourself what you were thinking in the moment. Okay, so now I just want to take that same blue color that I used for the word try, and I want to box the word attempts, because we are just attempting to please God. We're trying to please him. We're not actually doing it. He needs to be first. So just so I have a little reminder there. So now we're going to look at the next part of the verse. And that says, if I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same blue color and box the word try. And then I want to look at the word were. The word were. It was like difficult to say for some reason. So when I think of were, I think of past. I think that were is saying that in the past, this is what we were doing. That's basically what that means. And it just helps to remind me that these things can be in the past. Me people pleasing can be something in my past, does not define my future. So if I were still trying to, and I'm going to use the same color for the word please here. So if I were still trying to please, if I were still trying to put, everyone else's needs before God, worrying that they might not like me, looking to the world to gain acceptance, all of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and box the word people, just as I did here. So I remember what people I'm looking to that for. I would not be a servant of Christ. So I'm going to take this red here and just underline the word not, because that scares me. It scares me that if I am so wrapped up in pleasing these people that I am not being a servant of Christ, that is scary to me. For some reason, when I started reading this verse, I got so hung up on the last part. I could not figure out how to even explain it because it just seems so scary. It seems so scary to think that I wasn't giving God my all. I was honestly putting everyone else but God first. And that's just so scary when he's your father and he loves you and he's always going to be there. And the one person that's always going to be there, you're not giving yourself to. And that's not fair. It's not fair to him and it's not fair to us. So I'm going to just go ahead and just box the word servant. And a servant is someone who is in service for someone. So I'm just going to write in service for him. And by this, I think about, in service for him is just like doing everything I can on this earth to give him glory, to give him, all the praise. And I want people to look to him before they look to me. I want people to see his love, his spirit in me before they see me. And so when I'm in service to him, I am giving my life for him. So I want to just quickly look at James 4:7. I should write this down first so it would make it easier so you guys could see it. All right, so James 4:7. And if you want to write that out, a lot of times I do like writing out my whole entire verse in here if it helps me. But just for today, to make it easier, I'm just going to go ahead and read it. So James 4:7 says, "Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you." And the reason I chose this verse to go with being a servant of Christ is because when we submit ourselves, that just means giving ourselves to God, giving him the glory, giving everything that we have, loving him and respecting him in all our ways, giving that to God. And I think the second half of this verse is maybe what scares me about the word not. And it says, resist the devil and he will flee from you. So if we are not in service to Christ, then who are we in service to? We're in service to the devil. So by me constantly worrying about everyone else and what they're doing and if they're going to like me and if this makes them happy, I'm giving into what the devil wants. The devil doesn't want me to be a servant of Christ. And so that is why I chose this verse, because I just felt like it was really powerful. It was really powerful in saying that we need to give ourselves to God and resist the devil. So that's why I put that verse in there. I just thought it was super, super good. So the last verse I want to look at is 1 Corinthians 4:4. And I am just going to write that because it doesn't really go in here with any of this. It's just kind of another portion I wanted to talk about. So in 1 Corinthians 4:4, I really like the last part of the verse. And it says, it is the Lord who judges me. And so I'm just going to go write that down real quick. So it is the Lord who judges me. And I think oftentimes our success is based off the applause of our performance. And we look for people to say, oh, you did great. You are so awesome. You're such a good cook. You're such a good wife. You're such a good friend. You're this, you're that. We look for that. And does it really matter what they say? Does it really matter if they think we're a good cook or we're a bad cook or, we're a good friend or we're a bad friend? Does it really matter what those people think? Does it really matter that maybe your thank you card didn't get to someone on time and maybe that upset them? It really doesn't, because God knows that, your heart was good. You were trying, you weren't just sitting around doing nothing. You were trying to please God, and that's what he looks at. I want us to think about, what if God is already applauding? What if he is applauding us for something that we've done or we're doing? And I think that is what true faith is. I think that's what truly believing and loving in God and trusting him is just understanding that we may not be able to hear his applaud. We may not be able to hear, good job, Alexis, you did fantastic today. But know that he is doing that, and that is that trust and that faith that we have in him. So I just want to say that I am so grateful that I was able to share this study with you. This is something that's really helped me. I'm still so far from getting over the people-pleasing problem that I have. And I just really hope that, over this next year, I can do another study on people-pleasing, and hopefully by then I've grown more and I've learned more and I understand, more of what God is trying to show me through all that. If you guys have any questions, please message me, let me know, and I would love to hear what you guys think about these studies. I've had some people message me saying they love them, but if there's anything you want me to include, anything you want me to take away, if you want them longer or shorter, please let me know, because that's really helpful. I want to reach as many women as I can. I want to show them, how good God is and just how amazing he is. And if you have the opportunity, go ahead and share this with your friends, just so they can learn how amazing God is, and maybe this will help them get through that tough time that they're going through. So let's go ahead and finish off in prayer, and I hope you guys have a great week. Lord Jesus, I just thank you for this opportunity to share this with these women, and I just pray that today you just help them to get through these struggles that they're having. Help them to see to put you first, Lord, and that you are just so good and so amazing, and you are applauding us even when we can't see you, Lord. Thank you for all that you've given me and this opportunity to talk to these women, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen.